Welcome to the podcast series of the Local Project, where teachers and students share their experience working with linguistic landscapes inside and beyond the classroom walls. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, guys, it's again nice to see you here. So I just hope that we can just make this out. So let's see. As you know, we will just record a podcast about linguistic landscape. So let's get started with the best thing about the linguistic landscape, since it's the most general question we haven't hit. We can maybe just hear your answers and opinions about linguistic landscapes in general, and what's your favorite aspect of it. So is there any volunteer to answer this?
I think I can go ahead, Cardeline.
Yes, you can.
The nice thing about linguistic landscapes is that it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I'm not sure if you know, but I just came from a protest rally earlier, and during that rally, there were lots and lots of signs that tell you something about history, for example. So if you're a teacher and if you're a language teacher in particular, and you're trying to integrate something about social sciences or civics, a little bit of history, then one way to go is to linguistic landscapes. It's everywhere. In fact, I'm in Starbucks too, like you, at the moment, and there are so many signs. Most of them are in English. Then one might wonder, for example, why are there no local languages here? If you go to the toilet, if you go to the toilet, you would find that there are signs that are written in English, in Korean, and in Chinese. So, one might wonder why. So it's a good learning resource for for learners and even for teachers as well.
Thank you so much, Gab. It was really good to basically just hear your opinions about this. And I definitely just agree with you about the fact that linguistic landscape is everywhere. So, Chair, I'm not so sure about the pronunciation of your name, so sincere apologies. Do you have any ideas about just your favorite aspect on linguistic landscape?
I suppose my favorite aspect of linguistic landscape is about its universal feature. It contains everything around us, just maybe the ideology, the policy of the country, and the social class even can be shown in the linguistic landscapes. And I suppose for the policy, maybe there is something happened in Beijing, the capital city of China, last year, I suppose. Yeah, it is the change of the name of the metro station. Previously, we used the name like the English. It is a station, and we say maybe this is Chongwen Station. That is the station name. But last year, we changed it into Zhan, which is the Chinese pronunciation, but spelled in the how to say, spelled in like the English, but it is a Chinese pronunciation. So there is a lot discussion about it to see whether it is suitable to change the English into Chinese. Most of the Chinese people think it is not that appropriate because the Chinese people will never read the English version. We would just read the Chinese characters. But if you change it into Zhan, that might be difficult for the foreigners who know the English, who know only English. But there's the interesting thing is when we did a survey to some foreigners, they think it's a good thing, it's a good change. Because previously, if they show the station to such as taxi drivers, they would know, oh, what's that? But if now they show the Zhan to the taxi driver, this, yeah, I know where it is. So they think it's a good change. So I think that is the change of the policy. And also it is quite interesting and having fun to do the research in this field, to know more things that we have never thought about. Yeah, that is my point.
that was definitely inspiring, and I definitely think that it's really interesting to see the other perspectives we have from the other cultures, like Chinese. Although China and Chinese and English, they are both lingua francas we have in the world, but sometimes, you know, some changes between the languages can be really good for the linguistic landscapes also. Okay, so Rogelio, I'm not so sure about it again. So what do you think about this issue? If you want to answer, of course.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Cardolin, Che, and Gab. I completely agree with all the things that you said. I am completely fascinated about with linguistic landscapes as a scholarly subject because, as Gab said, it's everywhere and it can be approached from a range of perspectives. Like it gives you another perspective on things that we commonly see as mundane, like T-shirts, for example, and things that you would not usually consider as scholarly objects, like gravestones, right? And there's surveillance landscapes now, foodscapes, a lot of scapes, and all of these things can reveal a lot of things and fascinating from the talk that we've heard from Sir Frank. That was very fascinating. LL and activism and sports and connected to a lot other things. So yes, it's definitely fascinating to study linguistic landscapes. You can really get more information and insight about people, about places, spaces, about periods, right? We're living in a very historical period now, and we see too that COVID scapes, right? The signs that are produced during this period are something that can give us insight, perhaps uh, in the next decade or in the next 2 decades, right? So this is something that we can, I think we'll all agree that it's fairly new in the scholarly scene, but will definitely stay for a very long time. Thank you.
Wow, I'm really just fascinated by your answer. And you are totally right about the COVID-19 signs. I just want to call it like COVID-19 scapes, you know, just to create a new word for it, because it will be with us for a long time, as you said before. And I just basically think that also linguistic landscapes, not in also in the language, but for the other cultures and for the community itself, where the linguistic landscapes just occur, just create an event awareness. So it's also good. It's one of the best ways of linguistic landscapes we have. Guys, also I'm also curious about your opinions about some of the challenges we have in linguistic landscapes. For example, in basically on some signs, we have the mother tongue on the top, and then the second language or the foreign language will be just down or at the bottom of it. So what do you also think about it? Do you really think that this can be a problem for the speakers of that language, or it will be okay? So what are your opinions? I'm really curious about it.
Maybe I want to share something that occurred in my mind about the difficulties or challenges.
Let's go for it.
Apart from the difficulty in recognizing different languages, I found that maybe we're the observer. For us, we are the only observer. And I think just from the previous talks, we find that the single one landscape or picture is so different in different people's eyes. So I just think if you want to analyze the linguistic landscapes, it is so difficult to know the different ideas from different aspects, from different perspectives in different people's eyes. So how can we access to those people to know their idea? And also from the top to the down, to the public people, to the policymakers, I think that is the most challenging perspective for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also good. Is there anybody to just add something on your mind about that? because it's something open to discussion, and I'm really curious about your answers.
I'm also a teacher, but I actually
Cool.
teach in higher education actually. So the kinds of activities that we discussed are probably need to be revised so that it would be suitable for higher education. But um, when I was working with teachers from K to 12 here in the Philippines, one of the things that I always encountered was that most of the teachers are overwhelmed and overburdened with lots of responsibilities, not just with teaching, but with other clerical responsibilities, which I must say that should be assigned to someone else. And in addition, apart from that, um, I think teachers would might find some. This is just a guess, I suppose, but it's possible that there might be some resistance to the idea because there are also various ideologies, language ideologies that teachers must confront. So, for example, let me just give you one example. It has little to do probably with linguistic landscapes, but still relevant because it's a language ideology. When it comes to Philippine English, for example, um, many scholars here are trying to promote Philippine English as a variety of English that is valid. But many teachers find that, based on research, many teachers find themselves powerless to promote that variety of English in their classroom. So we might expect some kind of resistance um, to the idea that we should start from a multilingual starting point before we could even integrate, linguistic landscape. The answer sounds kind of jumbled, but there are those kinds of issues here that we need to confront before we could even ensure a smooth implementation of the teaching of linguistic landscapes.
Thank you so much, Gab. It was really inspiring to see that example from you, but exactly. So I definitely just agree with you. And Regili, do you have any ideas about that if you want to just add something?
Yeah. I'll be teaching for the very first time this semester a course on language and culture, and I am excited to share with my students a finding from my research about schoolscapes that most of the time we see English in the privileged spaces in the university, and other peripheral languages are, you know, in the peripheral spaces. Like they appear as graffiti in student armchairs. They appear inside the cubicle doors of comfort rooms. But when it comes to lecture halls and classrooms, we see these big signages all in English. And I think Gab is very right in saying that the privileging of English in the Philippines is really, really strong, and that starting from a multilingual perspective would really help us see that hey, we should be studying more about the spectrum of the linguistic repertoire that we have here. And it's a very interesting thing because it's a big archipelago. We have a lot of languages in the Philippines, and often we focus on just English and Filipino. Yeah. So yeah, I think if we really show to our students that when you go outside the university and when you go to the streets, when you go to the ground, when you observe the language there, it's really multilingual. And it is time to pay attention to these languages and to really see that, okay, this is how we use language in real life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring. So, guys, if you have any final thoughts about linguistic landscapes, or maybe your works on it and also your own experiences, you can also just add them, or you can just share your ideas about how do you just let's say, how do you deal with the challenges you have while you're just using linguistic landscapes, and then we can just end this. So it was really good to hear your opinions. Do you have any other thoughts about that? You can just add them. Then I suppose you do not have any additional comments on it. So thank you. for your just attendance, and it was really good to see your participation here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Please stay tuned to our website and YouTube channel. New and inspiring podcasts are coming soon.